One of the more challenging things of going through cancer treatment is going through with those experiences with a significant other. And one of the ways I work through those challenges, or we work through those challenges, was to work with a cancer therapist. And I want to share a couple things that were really important to us. The first was the realization that as the cancer patient, you may not be feeling well because of the drugs. Let's say you're on a lot of steroids. Well, as a couple or family members around you, if they can realize that you're on steroids, they might cut you a little bit of slack when you're not necessarily yourselves. I think our therapist told us that most of the arguments that happened between couples was when the patient was on steroids. So it was coincident, and when they were off of the steroids, they didn't really argue very much. So sometimes the drugs have an influence. The second is, as you're going through cancer treatment, the challenge is for the couple that cancer, that experience basically exacerbates issues that that existed before or are new due to the treatment. So the first thing I said was about the treatment. So if you're on steroids and you may not be yourself. So that should go away after the cancer treatment. But the actual other piece of it is that because there's this added stress around, it can exacerbate the previous communication barriers that you had with your significant other. So it just magnifies potential problems that you previously had that maybe sometimes would just rarely bubble up, but in this time of stress, it really bubbles up. And that can be really tough. So I encourage you to maybe work with a therapist to work through those existing issues, because you should have the time as you're going through cancer treatment to work on those things. The third really big realization as a couple is that each person handles stress differently. And as a patient, you're constantly just focusing perhaps on the plan, your regimen, and you're getting a lot of attention because you're the patient. As the spouse, it can be very tough because you may not know how to support your significant other. And one of the challenges that I experienced was realizing that my spouse's response isn't necessarily about their commitment to me or the patient. It's really about their ability to handle and cope with stress. So depending on how they cope with stress can affect how they interact with you, the patient. And so understanding that really opens things up and calms things down, because it's not necessarily they don't love you or what. It's they're trying to handle this stress situation differently. And sometimes someone getting diagnosed with cancer is one of the first major tests in a couple in a couple's history. So that's kind of three things that hopefully I've enlightened you a little bit about, and I wish you the best of luck.